So there is a passage of scripture nestled in the pages of the New Testament that causes so much confusion, so much tension, so much discomfort. This passage, when not read with the proper supporting context, gets under people's skin, especially Christians. It poses so many questions, so many uncertainties. When we think of Jesus, we think of a lot of things, a lot of words come to mind. But I'll tell you what words don't typically come to mind when we think of Jesus. Racist, sexist, elitist, rude. Those words, they don't belong to the Jesus I know. Am I right? And yet there's a passage in the New Testament that is often misread and taken out of context. And when this happens, those words from earlier, they tend to enter a lot of people's minds. Now, me personally, I love this passage because once you have the proper supporting context, once you have more details, you realize what's actually going on here is the opposite of what most people initially read and interpret to be the case. In fact, this might be one of my favorite instances of Jesus trolling his disciples in order to teach them a lesson and prove a crucial point. So, in this episode of the Deep Dive series that we're doing, this is where we go deeper into Scripture, we uncover deeper meanings, Easter eggs, if you will, in the Bible, and even verses that we may have been totally misinterpreting. In this episode, we're going to talk about the only time in the Bible where Jesus might come off the wrong way to some, and we're going to clear it up. But hey, let's hold off on that passage for just a moment, and let's just talk about the Jesus that we all know and love. And by the way, there's only one Jesus of Nazareth, okay? The reason why the passage that we're going to be covering in a moment catches so many people off guard is because it seems so contrary to his character. Jesus is clearly against prejudice. We see multiple times where he rebukes his disciple for prejudice. In an explosive episode of anger from both James and John towards some Samaritans, Jesus rebukes both James and John for their prejudiced anger. He also structures many of his parables and lessons, even miracles sometimes, in such a way that they rebuke the notion of ethnic pride. The Roman centurion was a great example. This part can be found in Matthew chapter 8, this story. The Romans were viewed by the Jews as oppressors, enemies, in fact. Many of them were actually expecting the Messiah to deliver them from Roman occupation. They did not like the Romans at all. We probably wouldn't have either. And yet, when a high-ranking Roman officer asks Jesus to heal his servant, not only does Jesus surprise his disciples and the rest of the crowd by obliging this man's request, he also makes a point to tell them that this man, in spite of being a Roman, has greater faith than anyone Jesus has encountered in all of Israel. And then he takes it one step further. He goes as far to say that many will come from the east and the west to share in the banquet with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. This outer darkness is commonly understood to be a reference to hell, for anybody who didn't know. Now, let's go back real quick. When he says many people will come from the east and the west, he's talking about Gentiles. And the sons of the kingdom, he's talking about the Israelites. And what about the time when Jesus got filled with righteous anger and started flipping the tables in the temple? You remember what he said? I think a lot of us tend to forget a few of the words that he said in that moment. But if you look in Mark chapter 11, when Jesus starts flipping these tables, he says, "Is it not written that my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations?" but you make it a den of thieves. For all nations. Okay? And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't quickly bring up the moment when Jesus healed a group of lepers from a distance. And as they started going away to show themselves to the priests and be confirmed as clean, only one of them, only one, turned around and came to give thanks. And it was a Samaritan. And Jesus makes the comment to his disciples, and he says, "Was no one else found to return to give glory to God except for this foreigner?" Jesus clearly didn't have a problem helping out Gentiles. If you want more proof, not only did he feed thousands of Gentiles in the Decapolis region, he also cast out a legion of demons from a Gentile man. He sent those demons into a herd of pigs even. And here's the heartbreaking part about that story is the demons drove the pigs to race towards and go over the edge of a cliff into the sea, drowning this huge herd of pigs. And when that happened, the Gentiles that lived in the area, they got upset. They didn't care about the miracle that had been done for the poor man. They got upset that their livestock, the loss of their livestock, and they asked Jesus to leave. And yet, Jesus kept healing and helping Gentiles. That story happened before the encounter that we're going to be talking about in just a moment. Keep that in mind. So Jesus definitely seemed to have a huge problem with prejudice. We see him speaking out against it. We see him performing miracles and calling out Israelites and saying, "Hey, why isn't your faith half of what theirs is?" And he tells stories like this story of the Good Samaritan is literally a rebuke against ethnic pride. Jesus definitely seemed to have a huge problem with prejudice, but wait a minute. What about when he sends his disciples out 2 by 2? Didn't he specifically tell them, though, don't take the road that leads to the Gentiles and don't enter any Samaritan town. Instead, go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's in Matthew chapter 10, verses 5 through 6. So why did he tell them to only help the people of Israel? He specifically tells them not to help Gentiles here. And why do you think he does this? I mean, he himself has already helped Gentiles. We just talked about several times. And yet, he's telling his disciples to not help Gentiles? But it gets even better. You see, when Jesus was preaching in Matthew chapter 7, before sending his disciples out, he says, "Do not cast your pearls before swine, for they will trample them, turn on you, and tear you apart." This is a pretty iconic verse, right? A lot of people are familiar with it. If you don't understand what it means, what he's essentially saying is, don't spend all of your efforts on people who aren't interested or won't appreciate them. Don't waste all of your time trying to feed someone who is rejecting you and your food. They're spitting on you and spitting in your food. Don't waste all your time trying to feed them when there are plenty of hungry people out there who will listen to you. But there is a little more to that verse. A lot of us forget that the pearls before swine comment is the second half of the verse. He actually starts off by saying, "Do not give what is holy to dogs." Now let's go back to the 2 by 2 mission for a second. How could there be any swine or dogs here? I mean, the disciples were sent to the lost sheep of Israel only, correct? Surely none of them would reject the message of the kingdom of God. Surely none of them would behave as swine or dogs. And yet Jesus tells them before sending them out, when you enter any town or village, find out who is worthy. Greet a household when you enter it, and if the household is worthy, let your peace be on it. But if it is unworthy, let your peace return to you. If anyone does not welcome you or listen to your words, shake the dust off of your feet when you leave that house or town. Truly I tell you, it will be more tolerable on the day of judgment for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah than for that town. And if you didn't pick it up, that town, it isn't a Gentile town. It isn't a Samaritan town, because he didn't send them to those places. Semi-side note on this one. You ever wonder if this mission for the disciples served an additional purpose? You ever wonder if maybe he was trying to show them something? Trying to break their prejudice down a bit? I mean, after all, they were sent to the people of Israel only. So if anyone is rejecting them, if anyone is being rude to them, etc., it's the people of Israel doing it. You ever wonder if part of the reason for doing this the way he did was to show his disciples just how ugly their own people can be? That even Israelites could be the ones to trample pearls and tear you apart. I definitely think it's clear that Jesus did not feel that the Jews were superior to anyone else, which is why this one encounter that we're fixing to discuss in the Bible just bothers people so much. But before we hit that, and I show what you might be missing in that encounter that will give a whole new perspective on what's really going on, I want to go back real quick before we dive in. And I want to point something out that I think a lot of people miss from the Roman centurion encounter, which, by the way, again, happened before the main encounter that we're about to start discussing. But when it all goes down, Jesus asks the centurion an interesting question. He says, "Am I to come heal him?" So the guy comes up and asks him for help, and Jesus says, "Am I to come heal him?" Why do you think Jesus did that? I mean, think about it for a second. After all, he has healed plenty of people without even being near them. He could have literally just told the centurion, "Okay, thank you for your faith. Your servant is healed." But he didn't. He asked a very interesting question, and the centurion just happened to give a very interesting answer to that question. It's almost as if Jesus, knew his heart, knew what he would say, and set him up to demonstrate his faith to the others. Jesus could have just said, "Your servant is healed," but he didn't. He asked the centurion, "Am I to come heal him?" And in doing so, I believe that he did this because Jesus knew full well the measure of that centurion's faith. He knew that this Roman centurion would douse himself in humility, and he would confess in front of everyone there that he, a high-ranking Roman officer, was not worthy to have Jesus come into his house. And then he goes even further to say that he knows Jesus can heal his servant without being there in person. He essentially says, "Look, I'm in charge of people. I have authority over some things. I tell somebody to go here, to go there, do this, do that, and they do it, because I have that authority." And he's basically saying, "I know that you have authority over everything, which is why I know that you can just say it and it'll be done." He genuinely believed that. He wasn't just trying to avoid having a Jew in his house. This Roman centurion just legitimately did not feel worthy to have Jesus in his house. And his faith was so great that he knew that Jesus could heal his servant without even being there. And can we just take a moment to appreciate what happened here? Like I said, a high-ranking Roman soldier claims he is not worthy to have a Jew enter his home. That is huge for what was going on in the political climate. And if Jesus had not asked him the question, "Am I to come heal him?" that man would not have had the opportunity to say the things that he said. He would not have had the opportunity to demonstrate his faith, which led to Jesus telling the disciples, "Nobody in Israel has this much faith." And I'll tell you something else. There are going to be all sorts of people at the banquet with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in heaven. And some of the people who think that it's their birthright to be there, they're going to be kicked out. So I just want to have us keep that in the back of our minds as we read. All right, so here it is. Here's the big verse, okay? Let's all just Take a deep breath. So, we're going to be reading Matthew chapter 15, verses 21 through 28, and I'll try to do this quickly. When Jesus left there, he withdrew to the area of Tyre and Sidon. Just then a Canaanite woman from that region came and kept crying out, "Have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely tormented by a demon." Jesus did not say a word to her. His disciples approached him and urged him, "Send her away, because she is crying out after us." And he replied, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him and said, "Lord, help me." He answered, "It isn't right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." Then get this. "Yes, Lord," she said, "yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus replied to her, "O woman, your faith is great. Let it be done for you as you want." And from that moment, her daughter was healed. Quick side note, by the way, anytime that you see the word woman here, this is a translation from the Koine Greek. This is not them being rude. If you look it up, you don't have to take my word for it, look it up. This was the equivalent of them saying ma'am, in our language. So this was actually them being respectful. So he basically said, "Ma'am, your faith is great." All right. So now, all that being said, what happened here, right? Did he just really have a bad day? It seems like he's acting so out of character here. Or is he? Is there something else going on? The first thing I want to point out that most people miss, which causes them to misinterpret this passage, is a lot of people think Jesus told the woman, "I am sent only to the lost sheep of Israel," which is, by the way, the same thing he told the disciples when he sent them out 2 by 2. Go only to the lost sheep of Israel. But he did not say that to her. He said that to them, to the disciples. They asked him to send her away, and he replied. Right? And if you aren't convinced, I'll read it from the Syriac Aramaic translation, this is the translated version of one of the oldest surviving manuscripts of the New Testament writings. Okay, so, "But he did not give her an answer, and his disciples came and begged him, and they were saying, 'Send her away, for she is crying after us.' But he answered and said to them, 'I am not sent except to the sheep that have strayed from the house of Israel.' But she came and worshipped him, and she said, 'My Lord, help me.' He said to her, 'It is not good to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs.' But she said, 'Yes, my Lord, even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table and they live.' But then Yeshua said to her, 'O woman, great is your faith. It will be done for you as you will.' And her daughter was healed from that moment." Okay, so you might be thinking, all right, so that clears that up, but who cares, right? I mean, he still said it all, and it sounds so rude. Not to mention what he said afterwards, did he call her a dog? Did Jesus just call this woman a dog? But let me point out another thing that a lot of people miss here. The disciples were being incredibly prejudiced here. This is a Canaanite woman, a Gentile, who is crying, sobbing, and begging Jesus for help. This woman wants the food. And she isn't spitting in the food. She isn't spitting in anyone's face. She isn't rejecting anyone. She isn't trampling any pearls. She's even referring to Jesus as the Messiah by calling him Son of David. And yet the disciples, they don't ask Jesus to help her and then send her away. They just ask him to send her away because she was annoying them. Literally, it's like, "Oh, can you just send her away? She's bothering us, man. She just keeps following. She won't shut up." That's literally what was going on here. And based off of everything that we've already talked about and what we know about Jesus, you can imagine how he probably felt about that. And this starts to help us paint a picture in our minds of what's really going on here. I can almost imagine it. Can you just imagine for a second? So they're just walking down this road, and here comes this Gentile lady who's acknowledging him as Messiah, crying, begging for help. Her daughter is being tormented by a demon, by a spiritual force, and the disciples, they just don't even care. They don't care. And instead of asking him to help, they ask him to send her away. And I can just see it. I can just see them asking like, oh, come on, will you just send her away? And he just, well, I would, really, guys, I would, but I guess I can't. I guess I'm only sent to the lost sheep of Israel. That's the way you guys are acting. So I can't even talk to her. I would send her away, but I'm not allowed to talk to her because I wasn't sent to her. I guess I'll just ignore her and I'll just let her keep driving you guys crazy. That's what he's doing here. He's telling them, well, I can't deal with it. Apparently, according to you guys, I guess I'm not allowed to help her. I could just imagine, it's like, oh, come on, don't be that way. Like, don't you hear her? But something happens, something that I believe, just like Jesus knew with the Roman centurion, Jesus knew here, something happens that the disciples did not expect. Just like that Roman centurion, this woman runs around all of them. She gets in front of Jesus and she kneels down and she says, Lord, help me. I get choked up when I think about this one. He already knows. And he takes this opportunity as a training moment. I can just imagine him saying, it's not right to give the children's bread to the dogs. And she just fires right back with zero hesitation because she is so sure that he can do this. She is so confident in who he is that she's not even phased. She says, yes, Lord, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. And I mean, at that point, he can't even keep up the act. He is so touched. And he says, so great is your faith. And he says, go home and whatever you want. Yeah, I love the way he words it. He's like, you know what? It's just however you want it. It's just whatever the details were that you had in mind, it's done for you exactly as you wanted. And we see a very, very clear picture here that Jesus was not being rude. He was not being racist. He was correcting rudeness and correcting racism, because how were his disciples ever going to spread the message of the gospel? They had to learn to see other people as equals. As long as they were being rude and prejudiced, how are they going to spread the message out? How are they going to go out into all nations? And so some of you might be thinking, yeah, that sounds really nice and everything. I guess that's one way you can interpret it, but I'm still not convinced that Jesus just wasn't being rude, etc., that he wasn't just, calling her a dog because she was a Canaanite woman, etc. It's like, okay, all right. Then how about we address this with just logical reasoning then, okay? If we believe in who Jesus is, if this woman was indeed a dog to Jesus, if Jesus did indeed consider this woman to just be a Canaanite dog, which is clearly not the way that he describes who the dogs and swine are, by the way, but if he did actually believe her to be a dog, and he says it is not right to give the children's bread to the dogs, then why did he do it? Why did he help her? If he legitimately thought that she was a dog, and he said it's not right to help the dogs, then he wouldn't have helped her. He did help. And I've heard a few people from a different faith try to say, well, it's because he was sent only to Israel, and so his miracles were supposed to just be for the Israelites. And this, well, that's clearly not true. I mean, we've already talked about multiple times. I mean, the centurion, the lepers, the Gentile man who was possessed, the thousands of people that he would go on to feed at the Decapolis right after this instance right here. I mean, he helped everyone. He helped everyone. Is God's power finite? Is there a limit on it? I mean, is there only so much bread to go around? Can God only feed so many children, and therefore, no. What Jesus was saying here was, he wasn't saying, don't give the children's bread to the dogs, there isn't enough. He was saying, don't entertain people whom you ought not entertain. Don't waste effort on people who do not care about your effort, right? And in this moment, Jesus very, very clearly and precisely used this specific language that he has already brought up before to show his disciples what that definition actually encompasses. This woman is obviously not a dog. She has greater faith than anybody else in Israel. And he helps her. If it's not right to give what is holy to dogs, and he helped her, then she's not a dog, right? So there's really no other way to interpret this passage. Jesus was not being rude here. He was driving a point home to his disciples, and it is a point that all of us need to remember every single day, that we are all created by the same creator. It is not fitting for a creation to try to assert and establish value to another creation. It is not right for us to gauge how much the creator should value each of his creations. It is only for us to love. And so I just want to encourage everybody here today just to go out, remember what Jesus did for this Canaanite woman, and remember how he interacted with his disciples. Oh, she's annoying you guys? Well, I guess I'll let her continue doing that for a little while, because you're annoying me with your prejudice. Because I wholeheartedly believe that's exactly what was going on here. And let's just all remember this as we go in our daily lives. Remember that being a Christian is not going to church. It's not saying a sinner's prayer. It's not wearing a cross around your neck. Being a Christian is trying to be like Jesus. He said in the book of John, those who have and keep my commandments are the ones who love me, and the ones that my Father will love. The problem today is that so many Christians, they're trying to be like other Christians instead of trying to be like Jesus. And so I just want to take a moment. Let's all just say a prayer and just pause and reflect on the way that he treated this woman here, because he treated her with dignity and respect. He did not treat her rudely at all. If she fit those definitions, he wouldn't have helped her. Thanks for watching, everybody. So look, if you guys are liking this, if it's helping anybody, right now I know the channel is super small, barely have any videos uploaded. So my life has changed a little bit to where I'm going to start having a lot more time to record these. So I'm really going to be trying to put at least one up every week. If these are helping anybody, or if you have questions, even if you want to talk about anything that I put in the videos, leave a comment. If they helped you, I would really appreciate you leaving a comment to let me know, or a like and a subscribe so that other people can maybe see the video. I will not ever monetize this channel. I do not ever want ads coming in and interrupting the message. So you liking and subscribing is not filling my pockets with anything. It's just simply making sure that this message can get out to other people. So appreciate you taking the time to listen. Love to know what you guys think, and we'll see you next time.